Now, this coming week on Tuesday, ladies and gents, NEO will not only be giving us their Q1 earnings, but we'll be getting the regular, of course, NEV Insurance registration report that we get to see it being published each and every week on Tuesday. Now, on the earnings or the Q2 earnings, you already know that, of course, my prediction on those earnings, I personally believe that, of course, when we look into the guidance, I believe that NEO is going to report a guidance of around 60,000 vehicles for the entire Q3, which will be so amazing because NEO has never delivered over 41,000 deliveries on a quarter, of which getting to see that they might announce over 60 deliveries as their guidance for Q3 makes me to be really excited. I mean, the most that NEO has delivered in a quarter was, of course, I think just over 40,000 deliveries for Q4, and that was, of course, you will know that usually when you look into sales or EV sales or car sales in the Q4, EV companies or car companies usually deliver more vehicles because of the demand that usually comes during the festive seasons or in quarter 4. So that resulted into NEO seeing over 40,000 vehicles, which to know that for Q3 they might be aiming for 60,000 vehicles, then chances are for Q4 we are going to see NEO aiming for over 80,000 vehicles, which will be so amazing to see NEO continue ramping up, of course, their sales or deliveries. Now, as I've said, not only are we going to get the earnings, of course, on Tuesday, we are also going to get, of course, the NEV Insurance registrations for last week, which I expect or I hope to see a continual improvement when we compare to the kind of NEV Insurance registrations we saw this week on Tuesday for last week. I mean, you know that this week on Tuesday, we saw on a report that NEO had 4,100 NEV Insurance registration, which was better than the 3,300 we saw last week on Tuesday. So both these two events taking place on Tuesday are important, but the most important one obviously is, of course, the Q2 earnings, because there not only are we going to be seeing the guidance, but we'll be seeing, of course, how many or how much revenues did NEO reported for the quarter, and also how close is NEO from getting to profitability, because analysts are expecting NEO to report a negative EPS of around 2.98 RMB or Chinese yen, which should they get it to become better than what analysts expect, it will be good news. And also, of course, if they can report better revenues than what analysts, or the kind of revenues that analysts expect, it will be a good thing. Now, as I've said in the video where I was doing or I was saying what to expect on the upcoming Q3 earnings, you will know that, of course, I said with the revenues and EPS, one cannot be sure, as it's difficult to get the exact numbers of how many cars they sold or how many ET5s they sold, how many ES7, EC7 and ES6 they probably sold, which if we had that information, we could obviously easily derive the kind of revenues we expect them to deliver in or for the Q2 earnings on Tuesday. But of course, looking at the guidance or the guidance side of the earnings, we can obviously predict, because we currently see the trend that NEO has started, and that is the trend of them delivering over 20,400 deliveries, and we are expecting that trend to continue for the rest of Q3. Personally, I believe that when NEO report their, of course, deliveries on Thursday next week, they are going to report a new delivery record, meaning that they are going to report over 20,000, probably 400. In fact, my prediction is over 21,000, which if we get to see that, then it will be lights out for the stock. I personally believe that then chances are the share price will start recovering once again, because the investors are going to see that it is not only July when NEO has delivered over 20,000 vehicles, but it is a new trend that will see NEO delivering, worst case scenario, or the very same deliveries they reported around June, and that is the deliveries of over 20,000 vehicles. So I know for now it's difficult, of course, to project the earnings, but as for the deliveries, I think we can easily project based on what we are looking from both the NEV Insurance registrations and, of course, the July deliveries which we saw. So I'm very excited, and I just thought I'd just give you this quick updates to say that though the gross margins might be on a single digit, though NEO maybe they might miss earnings or reported a wider than expected loss, one of the most important things that investors are wanting to see on those Q2 earnings are the guidance, which if they can announce a guidance of over 60,000, then obviously it will be lights out for this stock. I think investors will be really excited about that. The NEV Insurance registration it will always be good, or it will be good to see NEO, of course, delivering more than 4,100, which is the deliveries that we saw, of course, NEO having on the report which was published this past Tuesday. Otherwise, I'm very excited on the upcoming earnings. I hope, of course, they come out better. The margins are improving, though, as I've said, the gross margins are still going to be on a single digit, I believe. The only quarter that we are going to see double digits coming back, I think it's starting from the Q3 earnings, because Q3 now, you know that NEO is selling almost their entire fleet. They are just only left with launching the, of course, NEO EC6, which once they launch that, then they'll be selling 8 models, whereas in Q2 I think they were only selling 4 or 5 vehicles, which is why, of course, the gross margins might not be much, because even when we look at the ET7, which I think ET7 EC7, which I think they were the most expensive in the quarter two, they don't contribute that much on, they won't contribute that much on the earnings, because the deliveries that were coming out from those 2 vehicles, they were not that much. Whereas this quarter, ES8, you will know that it is doing quite well. This ES8 is one of the most expensive models, and we are seeing it performing quite well when we look into the deliveries, or when we look at the kind of sales that NEO is generating now in Q3. So it is for these reasons that I think that Q3, of course, gross margins will be better than the gross margins we are going to see on Tuesday. We might go back to double digits, which, by the way, it's something that NEO has also already said, to say that we will see that happening, or we'll see NEO heading back to gross margins of double digits now in Q3. So this is one of the most important weeks of NEO, because we'll be not getting, of course, the earnings and, of course, NEV Insurance registrations, but we'll also be getting, of course, the deliveries, or the August deliveries, which after we get those deliveries and we subtract the July and August deliveries from the guidance, we will know exactly, or we will have a rough estimate of the kind of deliveries that NEO plans to deliver for the month of September, which will be so amazing to get to know, or to get to see that sometime next week, before next week ends, or on Friday, we are going to see NEO's deliveries for August, which I cannot wait, because after those deliveries, then we'll easily project the kind of deliveries that NEO is expecting to deliver for the month of September. So all these 3 things might add some good catalyst, or might be a good catalyst for the NEO share price, which, if all goes well onto all of these 3, then chances are the share price of NEO will recover, which will be something that, of course, so many of the NEO investors will really like, as this stock was being hammered the most. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I just thought to just give you those quick updates. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell, so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. Otherwise, that's all from me, and I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey. And before you buy NEO for the very first time, do your own due diligence, so that at least you can be comfortable as you are investing onto this stock. Otherwise, that's all from me, and God bless you all.